This is probably the most used and probably the best lens that you can buy for YouTube. You don't have to buy this specific lens because it is pretty expensive, but something like this, which works with whatever camera system you're currently running, is something, in my opinion, that it's not like a should have. It's a must have, really. And basically, what all this is going to be is it's just going to be a 16 to 35 like lens. Now this is a 16 to 35 G Master f2.8 full frame lens, and this is a 16 to 35 L series Canon's version of the same lens as f2.8. Now these are really expensive, and I'm not saying that you should go out and buy this immediately, because, you know, it's just a lot of money to be able to justify. Like, these lenses are well over $2,000, especially if you buy them new. If you buy them used, you can find them for a little bit cheaper. But I will say that these produce an incredible image. And up until getting the lens that I'm shooting on right now, which I'll get to in a minute, this was my main daily shooter. Now, this is just one that we really use for... well, to be completely honest, we use it for weddings and other shoots because we're using the 35, not the 16. But for YouTube, typically wide angles are really what you need to use. And the nice thing about having a zoom lens, if I want to get B-roll or if I want to get a more cinematic look, I can push it into 24 or 35 millimeters to get that. But typically, like I said, with YouTube, wide angle is pretty much what you want, because the thought process, at least for me, behind it is I want it to be as wide as I possibly can, simply because that's what your eyes are. Your eyes are basically really nice, expensive, like wide angle lenses. And if I can recreate that using a lens and a camera combo, that's going to help with relatability. That's going to help make it feel like you're there in the room with you, which I feel like a large portion or a large appeal to YouTube is that very thing. You want it to be relatable. You want the audience member to kind of feel like a, hey, me too kind of response to your videos in whatever genre you're in. And the wide angle lens is just something that's really going to help. You can get fixed wide angle lenses, but my only issue, and the reason I've strayed away from those, even though you can get like a lower aperture, which basically you can get a better bokeh and it'll perform better in low light because it lets more light in, is you don't have the versatility like you do with zoom lenses like this. Like I said, I have from 16 to all the way to 35, and you have a couple of different lenses pretty much built in. Now, these not being the APS-C versions me full frame, they are going to be more, they're going to be heavier and going to be more expensive, but again, it's going to produce a incredible image. If you have an APS-C sensor, I recommend looking at something that's equivalent to this just for your camera. It's going to be a lot cheaper, it's going to be a lot lighter, and it'll produce a similar result. But like I said, typically what you want for your first like lens for YouTube, I recommend getting a wide angle lens. Now, I did mention that I used this before I used the one that I'm shooting on right now. And this one that I'm using on now is actually a wider version of this. This is going to be a 12 to 24 f2.8 lens, and it's massive. But the reason that I wanted to get the 12, well, there's a couple of reasons, but the biggest reason is it's wider and it gives me more real estate to work with horizontally. So like a lot of times I'm repurposing these videos for shorts, and like this is great, but I found that I had to really plan out my shots so that it would frame well with shorts. And with this 12 to 24, it just gives me a little bit more height, so I don't have to think about it as much, so I can focus more on the story instead of having to worry about every single shot and making sure that it's going to look good for not one aspect ratio but two different aspect ratios. And that was honestly the biggest reason. Now, is it worth the $3,000 for the 12 to 24? I would say initially no. If you can afford it, I don't think it's a bad lens. I don't regret it whatsoever, but I don't think it's necessarily needed. Like, you can find these for much cheaper, and they pretty much do 90% of what you can actually do with the 12 to 24. You're pretty much just paying for the extra 4 millimeters. So instead of 16, you're paying for it to go to 12, which I love, and it's incredible, and it's my favorite lens by far. and it's the one that I use the most on this channel and other channels. But if I had to do it all over again and I was starting over and I had my Sony a7S III, I would have no problem buying this lens. And this is just the G Master 1, or the first version. They have an updated version that's actually smaller and a little bit lighter. It is more money, but honestly, I might just get this one because it's a lot cheaper now. So anyway, that's it. This lens is great if you're looking for, I'll put a couple links down below for Canon's version and Sony's version. If you want to check those out, feel free to. And with that, let me know what you actually shoot on. I always love looking for new lenses. We actually got a new lens with a film camera we got. I want to try to figure out a way to mount it to my Sony. It's a Canon lens, but it's a little APS-C kit lens. It's a 35-80, and I think I could. I think it'd be really fun to try to use this. It's a really old lens and it's a really crappy lens, but those do have their own kind of aesthetic and vibe. But with all that being said, whatever you're using, please let me know. And with that, I will see you guys next Tuesday for another long-term review of whatever piece of gear that I like or I hate. Yeah, and if you have any recommendations on what I should do or gear that you want me to review or give my honest opinion on, because that's what this whole thing is. I really just want to give an honest, no BS assessment. And these are done in one take, so it's literally just my initial thoughts. Let me know. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video.